Hello everyone, welcome to today's daily news analysis. So before moving on to the topics, let me wish you all a very happy new year. And new year is a blank page in our lives. It is ready to be written. So it's your chance to leave behind all the regrets in the past year and embrace the new beginnings. Once again, I wish you all a very happy new year. So today we'll be discussing these five topics. Okay, so the main topic which I have taken is the sorry state of India's parliamentary politics. So here MP Shashi Tharoor is writing about the sorry state of the parliament affairs. Another one is regarding the excessive nitrates. There was a report by Central Ground Pollution Control Board. So excessive nitrates have been found in 440 districts in India. Another one is regarding the shortfalls in the United Nations Environment Summits which happened in 2024, and another one is regarding the 150th anniversary of India's Meteorological Department, and another one is regarding the new submarine which will be inducted in on January 15th. Okay, all right. So before discussing, let me introduce you to our products, two of the products which we are launching. One is a 1-year prelims comes main integrated course. So this will be aimed at people who are writing the exam on 2026. Another one is a 2-year prelims come mains integrated course. So that is aimed at people who are writing 2027 examination. Okay. So regarding this product, we have around 800 plus hours of general studies and CSAT online classes will be there, and in that we'll be having 200 hours of current affairs will be there, and we'll be giving you the micro schedule how you have to manage the topics. Like another one will be having expert faculties will be there, and obviously without regular testing this you will not be able to study properly. So obviously we'll be having both prelims as well as mains test, and we have study materials like the GS books will be there, and also NCERT books will be there, and also we have monthly current affairs magazines. Okay, so these are the 5 topics for today. We'll be discussing each and every topic. Okay, first one, the sorry state of India's parliamentary proceedings. Okay, so here we'll be discussing what is this parliamentary proceedings, what are the sessions in parliament, why these issues are happening, and what is the way forward to rectify all these things. So that we'll be discussing here. So this is important from GS paper 2. Okay, GS paper 2. What is parliament? What is parliament, and what is the functioning of this parliament? All right, let's see previous year questions related. To what extent, in your view, the parliament is able to ensure accountability of the executive in India? This was asked in 2021. Again, related to the parliamentary proceeding and its efficiency. All right, so context is this article reflects on the deteriorating states of India's parliamentary proceedings in critique of recent session, especially in the winter session. So the article is written by the 4-time MP, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, especially in this winter session of the parliament. Many things regarding the Home Minister's remarks on Ambedkar and all was a major issue. So he was writing this article in that particular light. Okay, so let's understand what is this parliament. What is this parliament? So parliament is basically the central legislative body in India. Central legislative body in India. What do you mean by legislation? Legislation means anything related to law. So what they'll be doing? They'll be making the laws, they'll be amending the laws, and even they can repeal the laws also. Okay, so that is the main purpose of parliament. So that is legislative role of the parliament. And parliament, you know, we have 2 different houses are there. One is a Rajya Sabha and another one is a Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha. So also we have executive oversight. Another important role of this parliament is executive oversight. So who is the executive? Executive means the government. Government is the executive here. So the parliament is basically having the control over the government, especially led by the prime minister. So how it is being achieved? Parliament has different tools, like for example question hour. We have different tools like question hour is there. Question hour is there, and also 0 hour. So in this way, the parliamentarians or the legislators, they can actually ask questions to the ministers or who are part of the executives regarding the affairs of the government. Okay, and also this executive is responsible to the Lok Sabha, especially parliament, but especially to the Lok Sabha, okay, and also they are having financial control. They are having financial control. So why the Parliament is having financial control? Because it only approves the budget, the budget which is being presented by the Union Finance Minister. So the Parliament has to approve the budget, and also it monitors the public expenditure, which all, even if a single penny is being spent from the exchequer, so that will be under the monitoring of this Parliament, okay, and also it will be passing this appropriation bill. It will be passing this appropriation bill. With this appropriation bill only, the Parliament is sanctioning the spending of the government. So in this way, Parliament is having financial control also. Okay, so this is another important one. That is a representative function of the Parliament. Basically, we are electing our MPs, right? We are electing our MPs so that our interest and our grievances will be highlighted in the union level. So that is one of the major functions of this parliamentarians. Okay, so they're acting as a representatives of, especially of the one constituency. Okay, these are some of the functions, and we have deliberative functions also. Deliberative function in the sense, in Parliament discussions can happen regarding any issue. Even it can even be national issue, or even it can be of international importance also. So deliberative functions are also there. Basically, it's a forum where the parliamentarians, who is actually the voice of the citizens, they can exchange their views on diverse topics. Also, it is having constitutional functions. What do you mean by constitutional functions? Obviously, the roles and duties of this parliamentarians, everything is inscribed in the constitution, but they have constitutional functions also. For example, they can amend the constitution. They can amend the constitution itself. Okay, it's not just passing the laws alone, they can amend the constitution itself. And also constitutional heads, like our constitutional head, the President of India, and also we have vice presidents of India, so they are also elected by the Parliament. So that is the constitutional function of Parliament. And we have judicial role. So Parliament is having judicial role also. Judicial role in the sense, impeachment of the president, impeachment of the judges of Supreme Court. So for all these things, Parliament approval is also needed. So Parliament is having a judicial role also. Another one is, it is having emergency powers. What do you mean by emergency powers? Emergency, we have different types of emergency, like national emergency. We have the state emergency, or we call it as a president's rule. Financial emergency, which is coming under different articles like 352, 356 and 360. So this emergency powers also, the Parliament is only monitoring the emergency provisions. Okay, so emergency will be declared by the executive, but everything will be monitored, and also parliamentary approval is also needed for this emergency, especially for the continuation as well as repeal of the emergency. Okay, all right. So these are the functions of the Parliament. So how this Parliament or this body is meeting every year, during different times, the Parliament will be meeting. We know that Parliament is not a body which is functioning all 365 days. It's not like that. But still, every year Parliament will be meeting at different times. Okay, so that we call it as the sessions of Parliament. There are mainly three major sessions of the Parliament. One is a budget session. Okay, one is a budget session. Like the name suggests, this will be the session in which the union budget will be presented. Union budget, especially the focus will be on the financial bills. Okay, union budget will be presented, and also another important document is also presented during this period, that is economic survey. Economic survey is also published as part of this budget session only. Before the budget, it will be presented. Okay, all right. So especially this budget session, it will be focusing on the that financial legislation. Okay, and this is one of the longest sessions of Parliament. Longest session of the Parliament. Why? Because it will be taking around 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, it will be going till around 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, all right. So next one is monsoon session. So here, other policy debates like normal passing of bills, all those things will be happening during this session. Usually from July to August, this will be happening from July to August. Budget session will be happening from February. Okay, January, February to April. That is the duration of the budget session. Okay, after that we have the winter session. Which is happening, which was the last session which was conducted. So this is the shortest session of the year. Here again, normal deliberations as well as specific policies or issues will be discussed in this particular session. And also we have special sessions. Also we have special sessions of the Parliament. Special sessions of the Parliament, like the name suggests, it is convened for any emergencies or any special circumstances only this is being convened. Okay. All right. So one major criticism about our Parliament session is like the Parliament session, it's often disrupted. It's often disrupted by especially by the opposition. So that is one of the criticism of a parliamentary session. So these are some of the statistics related to the parliamentary disruption. Okay, one is the declining productivity of this parliament. So recent statistics is showing that the parliament, the productivity is below 50% due to the disruption. Both Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, the disruptions are happening. Okay, and also to 2023 winter session, so 30 to 40% of the time lost to adjournments. Okay, you know, right, what is adjournment? Adjournment means for some period of time the parliament won't be in session, so that is known as adjournment. Okay. All right, another one, only 20 to 25 to 30% of the parliament's time has been used for legislation. So we have already discussed that the major function of parliament is legislation. Okay, it's a legislative role. So many bills have been passed without any scrutiny. So that's also another criticism of parliament. Here you can see the comparison. So in 1950s and all, we had around 120 days of the year it will be allotted to the parliamentary session. Now it has reduced to around 60 to 70 days in the recent decades, almost half. Okay. Public engagement, 80% of the MPs cite constituency demands as a reason for low participation in the debates. See, we already discussed that MPs have another duty, like they are the representatives of the constituency. They are not just lawmakers, but they are the representatives of the constituency. So obviously they will have to go to the constituency. So it is said that 80% of the MPs are mostly not having their full attendance in the parliament. So that is also one of the major issues which this parliament is facing. Okay. So why are these proceedings disrupted? Okay. So why are these proceedings disrupted? One, it can be of political reasons. Political reasons, both from opposition as well as a government benches, there can be political reason. For example, for everything, there is some political issues happening. For everything, opposition will be going for walkout. Walkout means they won't be they won't be part of that particular discussion. So that is walkout will be there. Especially maybe you might be knowing regarding what happened in 2016 during the demonetization and all. Opposition was continuously disrupting the parliament, criticizing the government's mishandling of the country's economy. Okay, and again, the government, the treasury benches will also, they will also be using the same counter strategies. For example, during the non-confidence motion and all, the government benches will also be using the same strategy against the opposition. Okay. Another important thing is the systemic issues. Systemic issues, the weak enforcement, enforcements of the rule of conduct. Okay, so parliament is the parliamentary is based on the proceedings of the parliament is based on the rule of conduct. Okay, mostly speaker or the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, they'll be in charge of this enforcing this rule of conduct. So weak enforcement is also one of the major issues which is there. Okay. And absence of structured mechanism. Absence of structured mechanism is sometimes we don't know how these MPs are suspended and all. So that is kind of vague. Okay, the rules are not structured. Another thing, leadership disconnect. This is something which is very much visible these days. For example, during Nehru's period, during Jawaharlal Nehru's period and all, Nehru was a person who always supported this opposition. He said protests are needed in a democracy. But nowadays it is not like that. Nowadays it is not like that. Nowadays the opposition has been crushed a lot, and there is a monopoly of the government in the parliament. Okay, so that is also another important issue, especially during the CAA debate and all, Citizenship Amendment Act debate and all, we have seen that. And also lack of bipartisan dialogues is also there. For example, earlier this opposition parties for major key legislations and all, the opposition parties as well as the government, they'll be sitting together outside this parliament, and they'll be discussing regarding the bill, and together they'll be presenting it in the parliament. So now that is not visible these days. So that is lack of bipartisan dialogue is also another issue. Okay. Other than that, cultural shift in politics is there. Okay, so now mostly these MPs, they are focusing on the populist tactics for media coverage. Whatever is having mileage in the media, they'll be using that. For example, use of placards, so that the media will also be covering. If it's just a debate alone, that won't be getting that much mileage. So focus is there on that, and also skilled parliamentary oratory to talk regarding a particular subject, speak regarding a particular subject and oppose the government. That needs some oratory skills. If you go to the parliamentary dialogues and all, speeches and all, you will get amazing speeches. Some of the books are also available, but nowadays it is very much low. Okay, so that's also another issue. Decline in public expectation. Okay, one, like I have already mentioned, the MPs will be going in the constituency. Mostly there are MPs who are having much lower attendance. For example, 20% attendance in the entire parliament, uh, parliamentary tenure and all. So MPs are like that. Okay, so that is also there. They are focusing on the constituency work, because they'll be focusing on the vote banks. Okay, not just the legislation, but they'll be focusing on the vote banks. Again, the public apathy towards parliamentary conduct is also there. People are also not expecting that these MPs will be performing. Okay, for the sake of voting only, they are voting. So that is also there. So what is actually the impact of this disruptions? Impact of this disruptions. One, loss of legislative efficiency. For a bill to, yeah, ideally for a bill to become an act, there should be discussions. There should be discussion, thorough debate should be there. Otherwise, what will happen? Randomly, every bill will get passed as per the will of the government. So the loss of legislative efficiency is a major issue which the parliament is facing. Another one is erosion of the democratic values. For example, during the Nehruvian period and all, parliament was a very powerful medium to express the dissent, as well as to show the efficiency of the government. But that is not visible now. There is an erosion of the democratic value, and also in the international level also this will become news. Okay, for example, the world presses and all, they are covering Indian, what is happening in Indian parliament. India is not a small player in international politics. Okay, so they will also be highlighting what is happening in this Indian parliament. Okay, so our image, that is affecting our image also. Okay, all right. So these are some of the impacts. So many committees have recommended, many committees as well as many experts have recommended what all things we can do to ensure that the parliament proceedings are going smoothly. Okay, all right. So these are some of the committee recommendations. One is the National Committee to review the working of Constitution. National Commission to review the working of Constitution. It was constituted in 2002. So they have mandated minimum sitting days of 100 for Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha should sit for at least 100 days and Rajya Sabha should sit for at least 75 days. So this was mandated by the National Commission to review the working of Constitution. Okay, but still it was not implemented. Another major recommendation came from second ARC, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, which was constituted in 2007. So they wanted to streamline this parliamentary procedures for better time management. And also another important suggestion which they said is like more bipartisan consultation should be there. Both the opposition as well as the government, they should sit together, especially regarding the major bills. Okay. Another important committee is Dinesh Goswami Committee. Okay, which was constituted in 1990. So this came to recommend regarding the electoral reforms. Okay, but still they mentioned regarding the parliamentary reforms also. They wanted to link the electoral reforms to better legislative accountability. So that was the suggestion by Dinesh Goswami Committee. Okay, and also every uh, house, both Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha, they are having their own rules of conduct. Okay, so Rajya Sabha recently said that they'll be implementing stricter guidelines to deal with the repeated disruptions which happened in Rajya Sabha frequently. Okay, all right. So these are some of the recommendations which were given by committees. Okay, now let's see what can we do to rectify this. What is a way forward? Okay, we have to come up with systemic reforms. like how the committee has recommended, we have to mandate a minimum number of sitting days. We have already discussed the committee recommendation was 100 for Lok Sabha and 75 for Rajya Sabha. At least that should be, or maybe some other number should be implemented. So there should be an enforcement of discipline. Enforcement of discipline. So for example, automatic suspension of MPs. Okay, as per the rules. So rules has to be strictened, and this has to be, the enforcement of discipline has to be strictened. Okay, and also improved dialogue mechanism. For example, pre-session all party meetings. Okay, bipartisan meetings should be there regarding at least regarding the major bills. Okay, for example, regarding farm bills and all, there was that kind of an initiative was there, but still that didn't happen. Okay, also public accountability should be there. So MPs are their representatives. So the citizens or the voters should know that what the MP was doing in the during the parliamentary tenure. So these attendance has to be published. Attendance has to be made public. So as of now also it is publicly. You can go to the PR site and you can check that. But still, people won't be going to the site and they'll be checking, right? So that has to be published, and that has to be sent to the public. Okay. Another one is technology integration. Technology integration, if you are integrating technology, more civic participation will be there. For example, for implementing a bill, using digital platforms and all inputs, the common man's inputs can also be taken. And also this committee meetings, they has to be made public. Like you can telecast this committee meeting. So that kind of thing can also be done. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the suggestions which we can implement, so that these kind of disruptions won't be affecting this uh, parliamentary proceedings. Okay, moving on to next topic. Scorpion class submarine among 3 frontline platforms to be inducted by Navy on Jan 15. Okay, so here we will be discussing regarding 3 of the India's naval ships: INS Vagsheer, INS Surat, INS Nilgiri. Okay, GS paper 3, indigenization of technology, science and technology. Okay. Alright, we'll see a previous year question in this regard. Which one of the following is the best description of INS Ashtadharani that was in the news recently? Okay, so the names are important. The names are important, and you have to know what kind of a vessel is that, whether it's an aircraft carrier, whether it's a frigate, whether it's a corvette. So that you have to know. Okay, especially from the prelims point of view. Or like I've already mentioned, this is a context. Indian Navy is set to commission 3 advanced platforms: INS Vagsheer, INS Surat, and INS Nilgiri. Okay, so this INS Vagsheer is actually a Scorpion class. It's a Scorpion class submarine. Scorpion class submarine. Okay, another one is INS Surat. INS Surat. INS Surat is a stealth destroyer. It's a stealth destroyer. Okay, another one is INS Nilgiri. INS Nilgiri. So this is a stealth frigate. This is a stealth frigate. Okay, so all these things will be commissioned on Jan 15, 2025 at the Naval Dockyard in Mumbai. Okay, all right. So you have to understand what these things are. What is a Scorpion? What is a destroyer? What is a frigate? So all these things you have to understand. Okay, so we'll see what is the difference between these. Okay, so here you can see that some of the naval ships here you can see. So this is an aircraft carrier. Okay, this is an aircraft carrier. Regarding the aircraft carrier, they are like air bases. They are like air base. So what will happen in an air base? So the flights will be coming, like jets will be coming in. They'll be landing. They'll be landing in the runway, right? So here the aircraft carrier itself is providing a runway. So you can imagine how big it will be. Okay, but still the problem is we cannot the portability of this aircraft carrier will be less. It will be moving slowly, and also we will not be able to dock it everywhere. So that is one of the problem with this aircraft carrier. India has very less, even every country will be having very less number of aircraft carriers only. Okay, so for that, to increase the portability of this naval ships, we have another important category, that is a cruiser. So this is the second largest warship after the aircraft carrier. So they will be having their own missile guided systems will be there. and also yeah, all this kind of systems will be there in this. Okay. Another category is destroyer. Okay, so slightly smaller than the cruiser. So we have aircraft carriers, after that we have the cruisers, and after that we have the destroyer. So they are little more slightly smaller than the cruisers. Okay, but again they'll also be providing the, they'll also be having the missile technology, this radars and maneuvering, everything will be there in this destroyer. Again, little more, slightly more lesser in size, we have the frigates. Okay, so advantage is like frigates compared to this aircraft carriers, cruisers will be more, will be able to take it to more places. Okay, coming to the frigates, we can easily take it to smaller areas also. All right. Again, little more smaller in size, we have the corvettes. Okay, same purpose only, but little more um, smaller. Okay, especially for this patrolling purpose and all, we'll be using this corvette. So after that, we have the submarines. Okay, so whether it be the aircraft carrier, whether it be the frigate, whether it be the corvette, this is working in the surface level. Okay, submarines will be working in the under surface level. In the deep sea level, the submarines will be working. Okay. All right, now we have got an idea regarding what is the difference between all these things. So let's move on to the ships which were in the news, naval ships which were in the news. So regarding INS Vagsheer, INS Vagsheer is the sixth submarine of the first batch of six Calvary class submarine. Okay, so we have a class of submarines known as a Calvary class. So this is designed in the on base of the Scorpion class. Okay, Scorpion class is something India was relying on the France Navy. Okay, French naval group will be there. So they were only supplying the Scorpion. So based on that, we also started something similar, that is a Calvary class submarines. Okay, and we have named the project as Project 75. So in this Project 75, we have designed a lot of Calvary submarines. Okay, so these are diesel electric. These are diesel electric. Both diesel as well as electric technology is being utilized in this Calvary class submarines. Okay, all right. So we have developed it in collaboration with naval group of the France. Okay, in India it is a Mazagon Dock Shipyard Shipbuilders Limited in Mumbai. So this will be commissioned in Jan 15, 2025. Okay. So regarding this Calvary class submarines, we have more submarines in this. One is INS Calvary itself, commissioned in 2017. Another one Kanderi, INS Kanderi, commissioned in 2019. INS Karanch, commissioned in 2021. Again in 2021 we have INS Vela, and 2023 we have INS Vagsheer, and now again one more will be added, that is INS Vagsheer. The features will be stealth technology will be used. What do you mean by stealth technology? Stealth technology means these vessels that will be invisible to the radar. Okay, that will be invisible to the opponents or enemies radar. So that is stealth technology, and obviously this will be having multi-role capabilities. Multi-role capabilities means what? It can attack from it can attack a target in the land, it can attack a target in the uh, target in the space, as well as it can attack a target in the sea itself. Okay, so that is multi-role capability of a vessel. All right. Next one is INS Surat. Next one is INS Surat. So this is the fourth and final stealth destroyer under Project 15B. Okay. So project we already know what is a destroyer. Okay. Already know what is a destroyer. So first we have the aircraft carriers will be there. After that cruisers will be there. After that we have the destroyers will be there. Okay. Again, this project we have named this as Project 15B, and we have the class of destroyers, that is a Visakhapatnam class of destroyers. Okay, Visakhapatnam, earlier it was Calvary class, now this is Visakhapatnam class of destroyers. So they are also having this stealth guided technology. Okay, so they are also having this stealth technology, and here also they can involved in anti-air warfare, anti-surface warfare, and anti-submarine warfare. Okay, for all these things it can be used. Anti-air means it can attack an opponent in the, or maybe a target in the air. Anti-surface means in the surface, and anti-submarine means under sea also it can attack. Okay, all right. So And also another important thing is it is capable of housing helicopters such as Chetak, Dhruv, Seeking and MH-60R. Aircraft carriers, they can actually even provide the runway for the aircraft. Okay, so here it can house a helicopter. From here itself, the helicopters can be take off. Okay, all right. So that is INS Surat. Next one is INS Nilgiri. Next one is INS Nilgiri. So this is the first frigate, stealth frigate under Project 17. So Project 17 is something which we be using to develop advanced stealth frigate. Okay, you know what is a frigate, right? So little more smaller ones we call it as a frigate. Okay, so again here also you can see the multi-role capabilities will be there. It can operate in different areas. Okay, so these are the 7 ships which are already commissioned under this INS, already commissioned under Project 17A. Okay, INS Nilgiri, which will be commissioned now, INS Himagiri, INS Udaygiri, INS Dunagiri, INS Taragiri, INS Vindigiri and INS Mahendragiri. Okay, so these are the frigates which are commissioned under Project 17A. Alright, next one. Next one, moving on to another news. Excessive nitrates found in groundwater in 440 districts. Excessive nitrates found in groundwater in 440 districts. Okay, so report suggests that around 56% of Indian districts are facing the problem. That is around 440 districts in India. Okay, all right. So this will be coming under GS paper 3. GS paper 3, environmental pollution and degradation. So here we will be discussing what is this contamination, what is this nitrate contamination, what are the other types of contamination, and obviously the body which is regulating all these things. Okay, we'll see a previous year question related to this. What can be the impact of excessive or inappropriate use of nitrogenous fertilizers in agriculture? Okay, so you have to find out which all are the what all are the impacts of this uh, usage of nitrogenous fertilizers. Okay, all right. Context I have already mentioned. So India's groundwater faces a significant challenge with excess nitrate contamination, particularly in the central and southern regions. The district in central and southern regions uh, particularly faces this. Okay, as of 2023, 440 districts reported unsafe nitrate levels, which is actually an increase from the 2017 levels. Okay, all right. So this was based on a report by CGWB. CGWB, Central Groundwater Board. Okay, Central Groundwater Board. They released it yesterday, Jan 1st, 2025. They released the report. Okay, all right. We'll see what is this Central Groundwater Board. Okay, so the Central Groundwater Board, it is constituted under Section 3.3 of the Environmental Protection Act 1986. Section 3.3 of the Environmental Protection Act 1986. What is the purpose of it? To regulate and oversee the development and management of groundwater in India. Okay, so for that they will be conducting studies and obviously they will be releasing the reports like this also. Okay. All right, so let's see some of the groundwater. What is the status of groundwater in India? Why, for what all purpose we are actually using this groundwater? We'll see that. So over 60% of the India's irrigation resources are from groundwater. Okay, over 60% of India's irrigation is done using groundwater. Other than this irrigation purpose, we have other purpose also like drinking and also daily chores. Also we have this groundwater. So obviously, India is the largest global user of groundwater. India is one of the in India, agriculture is one of the major employment sources in India. So obviously, in that itself, 60% of India's irrigation resources came from groundwater. Okay, so that makes India the largest global user of groundwater. You know, right? Groundwater replenishment is not something which happens very quickly. It will take thousands of years and extraction rates. So what is the rate at which this groundwater extracted? That is too much in India. So this extraction rate has already exceeded the recharge capabilities. So that is a challenge which India is facing. But obviously here we are talking about the pollution in groundwater. Okay, so according to this report, 440 districts in India has reported unsafe nitrate levels in groundwater as of 2023. So that is 56% of the district, 56% of the total district. So how can we say that the groundwater is polluted? Can we say that there should be some calculation should be there, right? So that is, if in 1 liter of water, if we have 45 mg, of nitrate presence, then we can call it that. If it's exceeding that, then we can call that water polluted, that groundwater polluted. Okay, so that is how we'll be determining whether the groundwater is polluted or not. Okay, all right. Now let's see what are the sources of this groundwater pollution. There can be different sources. Even naturally itself, naturally occurring contaminants are also there. For example, in some areas, in some geological formations, for example, areas in West Bengal and Assam, they are naturally having this uranium in that area. So obviously the groundwater will also be having polluted. Okay, that will also be polluted by uranium. So like that way, there are natural nitrate areas are also there. So naturally occurring contaminant, so naturally occurring sources are also there. Okay, so one is natural sources. Another one, that is one of the major causes, that is agricultural base, from agriculture. Okay, so from agriculture, how this nitrate is seeping into the ground. Fertilizers, obviously fertilizers in pesticides and all will be using nitrate. Nitrate is one of the major components in this pesticides as well as fertilizers. So the overuse of this pesticides, overuse of this fertilizers, herbicides, so they are also increasing the gravity of this issue. Okay, another one is industrial waste. We have industrial waste is also there. Obviously, in every industries, nitrate is one of the byproducts in the industries. So that will also be discharged into this ground, and obviously that will be seeping into this aquifers. Okay, so that is also one of the major reasons for this groundwater contamination. Okay, another one is salt to water intrusion. Salt to water intrusion, especially in the coastal area. Coastal area, saltwater intrusion will be there. Over pumping of this groundwater, that causes the salt water to enter the freshwater resources. Okay, freshwater aquifers, and later it will be making it unfit for the irrigation. Okay, so that is also another reason for this groundwater contamination. Okay, all right. So other than nitrates, we have many other contaminants are also there. Even this groundwater board, they are conducting studies regarding that also. Okay, so these are some of the major agents. One, obviously it is nitrates, and we'll see the effects of these pollutants also. What are the effects of these pollutants on the uh, groundwater? Okay, so this nitrates, when it's entering the human body, that will react with hemoglobin, and that will cause two major diseases. One is methemoglobinemia, and another one is a blue baby syndrome. Methemoglobinemia, and another one is a blue baby syndrome. Okay, so these are some of the important diseases which are caused by this nitrate pollution. Another one is arsenic. Another important contaminant is arsenic. So arsenic can cause blackfoot disease. Okay, arsenic can cause blackfoot disease, especially with the chronic exposure. Okay, another contaminant is fluoride. It leads to fluorosis. So due to fluorosis, only our joints, teeth, even jaw muscles, so these pain, that is majorly caused due to fluoride pollution only. Okay, all right. So these are the, and also we have uranium. Uranium is a nephrotoxin, so obviously it will be affecting the kidneys. Okay, kidneys. And another one is radon, that can increase the risk of lung cancer. Okay, so these are some of the important metals, and also we have other metals in trace like lead, mercury, cadmium, chromium, and nickel. Cadmium pollution can cause Itai disease. Okay, the names of diseases and all are important for your prelims point of view. And mercury can cause to Minamata disease. We have Minamata Commission, Minamata Convention to combat this mercury pollution. And okay, all right. Moving on to next news. India's weatherman to turn 150 on Jan 15th. Okay, so this is talking regarding the Indian Meteorological Department of IMD. Okay, so IMD will be celebrating the 150th anniversary. Okay, establishment anniversary. So this is IMD is a major organization in disaster and disaster management as well as environment. Okay. Alright, like I've already mentioned, the context is IMD, Indian Meteorological Department. It was established in 1875. So 2025, they'll be celebrating the 150th years of service. Okay. So regarding IMD, it's a small snippet. It was established in Jan 15, 1875. Okay. So 150 years of establishment. So you can see that this was established even before independence, 1875. Before independence. Why? Because during the Britishers themselves, they felt that there should be a standardized and systemic weather observation system in India, especially even for the taxation and everything. They need to know how the weather is actually performing in how the weather patterns are there in India. So for that only they have established the India Meteorological Department. Okay, so after independence again we continued the body without any alteration. So after that IMD became the member of World Meteorological Organization. Okay, so World Meteorological Organization, again this is one of the specialized agencies of United Nations also. So what their World Meteorological Organization is doing is they'll be considering all the global level, how the weather patterns are moving in global level, like the tracking of the cyclones, all these things in the global level is done by IMD. So they have regional partners will be there in Indian subcontinent or the South Asian region. They have IMD. So like that, regional partners are there. Okay, so IMD is a regional partner in of WMO in India. Okay, so for that IMD became a member of World Meteorological Organization in April 27, 1949. So headquarters of IMD is New Delhi. Headquarters of IMD is in New Delhi. Okay, but IMD is also having 6 regional meteorological centers. One in Chennai in the south, Guwahati in the northeast, Kolkata in the east, Mumbai in the west, Nagpur again in the west, and the headquarters in New Delhi. Okay, so these are the areas in which IMD will be having sub centers. Okay. Alright, so what are the functions of IMD? Functions of IMD, major function is weather forecasting. Major function is weather forecasting. Okay, so what is the weather today? What is the weather tomorrow? What is the weather after 2 weeks? Everything will be forecasted. IMD has their own mechanism of forecasting, their own calculations, and based on that, IMD will be forecasting the weather. Okay, so that is done by IMD. Another one is cyclone monitoring. Another one is cyclone monitoring, especially in the coastal area. So, like I've said, WMO is actually monitoring the cyclones all across the world. Okay, so they have 6 regional specialized meteorological centers, and IMD is one among them in having control over this particular area, Indian subcontinent area. So the IMD will be forecasting. IMD will be forecasting the cyclones. Okay, it's not just forecasting; they'll be monitoring it. And you might be knowing that every cyclone will be having a unique name will be there. So that is also being controlled by, even though the countries are only naming it, that is also controlled by this IMD. That will be from this IMD database. Okay, so that is another important function of IMD. Okay, another function is seismic monitoring. Seismic means related to earthquake. Okay, so here they will be monitoring and tracking the and analyzing the earthquake activity, the how these waves are going and which all areas this earthquake will be affecting. So again, this is also one of the important things related to disaster preparedness. Disaster preparedness in India. Okay, all right. So, some of the recent updates regarding IMD. Obviously, one of the major things related to IMD is the 150th anniversary. So, other than that, IMD has developed something known as a summer, system of aerosol monitoring and research summer. So, they will be studying the atmospheric aerosols like black carbons. Okay, so this is one of the major issues which is causing the global warming in the world. Okay, global warming in the world and air quality, affecting the air quality. So summer, they have developed summer system of aerosol monitoring and research in India. Okay, and again, this is something based on IMD's report which was published yesterday. So IMD found that 2024, last year 2024 is India's warmest year since 1901. So after 1901, 2024 is India's warmest year. That's what IMD has found. And in that itself, October being the hottest month in 123 years. October being the hottest month in 123 years. So that was also IMD's finding. And in that October to December period, again they have also set a record being the hottest in many years. Okay, so this is what IMD has found, said in the yesterday's report. Okay, moving on to next topic. Again, this is a small criticism regarding uh, the UN environment summits. Four UN environment summits happened in 2024 related to different areas. Okay, so what happened? Why these summits fell short in 2024? So that is being explored in this particular article. Obviously, it will be coming in the section environment in GS paper 3. Okay, so we'll be discussing what are the outcomes of this and why it was not, why it was opposed. Okay, related to that particular summit, and related to related to the origin of that particular summit and what happened during this 2024 summit, why it was opposed. This will also be like a snippet. Okay, we'll see a previous year question related to this. Describe the major outcomes of the 26th session of Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? Again, this was asked related to UNFCCC. Okay, UNFCCC is also one of the uh, summits which happened in 2024, which was mentioned in this article. Okay, all right. So context is 2024 four major UN environment summits happened. One related to climate change, another one related to biodiversity, another one related to land degradation, and another one related to plastic pollution. Okay, so all these summits concluded without achieving the meaningful progress. All the summits had a aim, okay, but that aim was not that didn't happen. Okay, underscoring the deep divisions between developed and developing nations. So this is what the article is talking about. Okay, all right, we'll see the summits. First one, UN Conference on Biological Diversity. UN Conference on Biological Diversity, or CBD. Okay, regarding the origin of this or the origin of this particular conference, so it originated in the 1992 Earth Summit. We call it as a Rio Summit. Rio Summit or the Rio Earth Summit. So in that many conferences happen. For example, the UNFCCC. UNFCCC was also one of the UNCCD regarding the desertification, that is also there. So these are some of the important conference which came as part of that, and UNCBD is one among that. Okay, so what was the focus of that? To conserve biodiversity and securing financing for the sustainable land use. So that was one of the major provisions of this UNCBD. Okay, UNCBD. And this year the COP16 that happened in Colombia. COP means Conference of Party. So this summit will be happening every year or maybe 2 years, or based on that particular summit that will be happening. Okay, so COP means every parties will be coming together and they'll be discussing regarding what we can do next, or maybe what update we can give regarding that particular conference. So that is COP, or Conference of Parties. So this year the outcome was no agreement on financing mechanisms. No agreement on financing mechanism related to biodiversity, and it was falling short of $700 billion. So this was something which was decided as an annual need annual need which is required for financing this biodiversity. So this was, no agreement was sanctioned regarding this. So why it was opposed? Developed nations resisted the financial commitments because they are saying that they had economic pressures due to the overall international economic issues. They had economic pressures. That's what they said. While the developing countries, they demanded greater funding. They said this itself is not sufficient. We need more funding. Okay, so based on this, both the developing as well as developed countries, they were not able to come to a consensus regarding this. Okay, so based on that, that was a it is said that that was a failure. Okay, all right. Another important summit is UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCC. UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCC. Again, this was also one of the major major summits which major conventions which originated at the 1992 Rio Earth Summit. Okay, so what was the purpose of this? They want to tackle uh, the climate change by reducing the global warming. Okay, so that was the main purpose of this. So the latest target is they want to implement the global stocktake under the Paris Agreement, COP21. Okay, COP21, that is Paris Agreement. So in that 1.3 trillion was annually needed for the climate finance. Again, here also no binding agreement was there regarding this, and developing nations didn't agree on that. Okay, here also opposition was there, divisions over phasing out fossil fuels and lack of accountability for high emission countries. Okay, so they are saying that there is a discrimination towards the developed countries. Okay, so that is one of the major things in which this developed countries have been opposing. Another important summit is UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Okay, again this was also adopted in 1994. Again came during Rio Earth Summit only, but it was adopted in 1992. What is the purpose? To combat desertification and mitigate effects of drought in affected countries. Okay, so what is the purpose? They want to establish a legally binding protocol. It should be legally binding. Okay, most of the protocols are not legally binding, they are voluntary only. So they want to establish a legally binding protocol to combat drought and land degradation. Okay, so here also outcome is like discussions failed to produce this consensus and no protocol was adopted. Okay, so that was a problem. Why countries were opposing? African nations demanded specific economic commitments, while industrialized countries favored a general framework. Okay, so general framework means it will be mostly it should be adopted for every country, whether it be developed or whether it be LDC or whether it be developing country. Everyone will be having a general framework. Okay, so African countries demanded that they need a specific framework. Okay, all right. So based on that, again these countries were not able to reach a consensus in this. Another important convention is Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Plastic Pollution. Okay, so this came much later in 2022. In 2022, a resolution at the United Nations Environmental Assembly in 2022. What is the focus? Developing a global treaty to address plastic pollution. Okay, we don't have a global treaty to address a plastic pollution. Here also the talks ended without the legally binding agreement. Here also we are not able to reach consensus to develop a global treaty on plastics. Okay, so the plastic dependent economies oppose the restrictions on production, and they favoring recycling and waste management solutions instead. Okay, so they oppose restrictions on production, but instead what we can do, we can go for recycling and waste management solutions. So this was the outcome, and again we are not able to reach consensus regarding the global plastic treaty. Okay, so based on that, the author is saying that um, all the four conventions, they failed to achieve the focus. Okay, all right. So now let's move on to the main practice question today. How do parliamentary disruptions erode democratic values and public trust governance? How do parliamentary disruptions erode democratic values and public trust in governance? Suggest ways to address this challenge. Okay, so approach will be, first we can introduce regarding the parliamentary disruption. Maybe you can include what happened in the winter session also. For example, whenever you are writing, quote something which happened very much recently. Okay, so like that way. And obviously we have discussed many roles of this parliament. What are the roles of parliament? So briefly you can highlight this. Parliament is a major central legislative body in a country. So like that way you can introduce this particular answer. Okay, so after that, in the body you can write about the impact. So impact on the democratic values. Here you can give examples like during Nehru's period and all, it was not like that. We have people like Nehru, Vajpayee and all. So